Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and this is my 54th Saturday vlog. Okay, I got some things to talk about tonight, but before we do, as always, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Please make sure you subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. And also, for those veterans of my channel, please consider going to Patreon and becoming a patron. Please consider becoming a patron by going to my Patreon. Wow, I managed to get that one backward. Link will be in the description. So sometimes things happen in your life that make you contemplate your mortality. And this one's going to get a bit heavy, folks, so I apologize in advance, but the purpose of the vlog is for me to talk about things that are on my mind, and as life circumstances have it, this happens to be on my mind. And so sometimes things happen in your life where you start to contemplate your own mortality. You know, you lose people, people get sick, you get sick, you come close to an accident or you have an accident, get injured, someone close to you gets injured. It's something that we as humans don't like to think about, because we hate to think about the inevitability of our own mortality. But, and it's true that it is something we're all going to have to face eventually. I think Shakespeare put it best: eventually we will all journey to that undiscovered country from which no traveler ever returns. I don't remember what play that was in, but I know it was Shakespeare. I think it might have been Hamlet. And in fact, it is the experiences I have had revolving death and finality, mortality, that I wear the skull mask. One of the things that I have learned over the years is that we can't allow our mortality to limit us and what we aim to achieve and accomplish. And that's a hard thing to do. Truly understanding your mortality will, well, frankly, it will make you contemplate nihilism. Because, you know, if there's an end to it, and after that everything you've done is theoretically unimportant because you'll be gone, why bother building anything? But I don't think that's the right attitude. I think that's well, not to put too fine a point on it, I think that's the attitude of a loser. That doesn't mean you don't set things up so that when it is your time, things are taken care of the way you want them to be. But it does mean that you don't allow your mortality to be a handicap on yourself. But when you're facing it, that's a very hard thing to think about. It's not something that we like to think about. It's a tough conversation to have. You have to have it with your lawyer. You have to have it with your family. I know I said that in an interesting order, but believe it or not, that's usually the order people have it. You know, you have it with your insurance person. You have it with your banker if you're intelligent. Or wealthy. Or both. You have to be willing to face the fact that at some point you won't be there. And I understand from many perspectives just how unsettling and sometimes painful, gut-wrenching it can be to even think about it. For those of you wondering, you know, the grimness of this, obviously there's important things for me to talk about on this. Part of it's because of my personal experiences, and there is something real life going on. I am safe. Illness in the family. But I also spent many years as a banker, what we call an estate banker. And what that basically means is my entire function was to work with people who had suffered from a loss. You know, a relative had passed away, usually a parent or a sibling. Sometimes no, thankfully I avoided loss of child. No, that's not true, there was one. Adult child, but still. And so, you know, when you're dealing with 20, 30, 40 deaths a year, none of them close to you, but some people you knew. And you're helping their families handle that not end of life because you're still alive during end of life, but the post-life trauma to the survivors. Kind of develop a relationship with death. And honestly, I think it's a relationship that's healthy for everyone to have. And that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you go seeking it. You never go seeking it. I don't care if you're religious or not, eventually it will find you. Even those of us who are young enough that in all likelihood we'll be able to suspend aging perhaps indefinitely. Ironically, using the same types of cells that kill us now, because it's the same effect that makes it so that crocodiles and alligators, turtles, tortoises, and lobsters never die of old age is the exact same function that gives us cancer. It's out of control telomere, or in those creatures it's controlled, but it's telomeres, which are tendrily things on the end of a DNA strand. And every time the DNA replicates, they shorten slightly. Which, if you can imagine how small a DNA strand is and then consider what slightly means, takes about 80 years to 90 years before they can no longer replicate themselves very well. And that's when you begin to die. And it's the shortening that ages you. If you can lengthen those telomeres, you'll actually lose physical aging. They've proven this in rats. But the exact same effect when it's out of control. When that same function is out of control, it's cancer. Literal cancer. That's exactly how it works. You know, and it's ironic because I personally would love to be one of the test subjects for such a treatment. Not just because I've got visions of immortality, which I intend to live to be around 150. I see that happening. My actuarial life expectancy is 89 years, and that's after 5 or 6 years of tobacco use. I no longer use it. I've been off of it for pretty damn close to 2 full years. Yeah, because I quit back in 17 and we're in 20 now, so we're getting there. I was still on the patch during Christmas season of 2017. But that's 89 is pretty respectable. And then I think the average age for most millennials these days, men, because keep in mind, men and women have different actuarial charts, and that has nothing to do with any sociological issues. It's just biology. In a lot of ways, there are social factors in there. There are also natural factors, like men have a natural tendency to be far more reckless. Things that break our bodies, like sword fighting. My student's gonna hit me for that. Or I should say, sword fighting in ways that could get us injured because we're being careless. Or riding a bike and not paying attention and running into the back of a car. Did that. A parked car, even. Don't judge me too harshly. I think I was 11. Getting a concussion and keeping fighting. Fighting after you break your ribs. Yes, I have done all of these things. Not because of any macho bullshit, but because I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. Wow, that's a big bruise. Why do I have a headache? But back on topic, these are all things that we as individuals need to address, and that's why we have there are things that are in place for such circumstances. You know, as a father, I have an end-of-life plan, because even though my lady and I have been together for 5. We're in our 6th year. I can never remember if it's 6 or if we're in our 6th year or if we're past 6 years. I think we're in our 6th year. Yeah, we would have to be. I have one son. She has 2 kids. This year, the second, so they're our children. But because of life, before we were together, I had a plan in place because I was a single father with a 12-year-old, and I'm still a single father. Our living arrangement's unique because her kids have to be where they are currently through graduation. I'm up here because my son has to have access to services that are more available here than they are where she is. And her kids are going to, well, our oldest is going to be 19 this month. And our daughter turns 18. And then our youngest, who happens to be my first, which is probably going to be the most dubious distinction that he will ever have. Yeah, I'm my dad's first and youngest. Is 12. And so we have plans in place. If something happens to us, individually or as a pair. Because when you have kids, you can't afford not to. Especially minor children. Especially minor children. Because you need to make sure they're taken care of. So we've done that. Me especially, because my lady and I aren't married yet. So because of that, if something were to happen to me, things would go to my minor child. I mean, I could will them to her, but it's... Even then, because he's a minor, probate court would likely override it anyway. Which makes sense. And they have the right to do that. But I wasn't trying to get into all the details of my, end of life planning. But that being said, it's important for every one of us to do, and not to fear it. It's not a jinx. In fact, the lack of prior planning is a bigger jinx than knowing you need to plan and not doing it is a bigger jinx than knowing you need to plan and doing it properly. Straight up. And the more you do ahead of time, the easier it's going to be on your family. I think he's in a hurry. Because I hate to say it, folks, we don't live in the Entropia universe. There are no revive terminals for us. Mindark's working on that, though. So you know what? A close second for me would be embedded into my avatar. I wouldn't mind wandering Calypso or actually the whole Entropia universe for the rest of eternity, or at least until they shut the servers down. Because at that point, you no longer need to eat, you no longer need to sleep. I could grind away in the sweat fields for months at a time. Become the wealthiest little AI on the planet. I find it very interesting that humans as a whole, it seems like all throughout history we have been seeking immortality. And part of me questions if we really understand what that would mean. If we had the capability, would we truly want it? I mean, think about it. No human has ever lived past, I think the oldest human on record was like 140? So the oldest verified was 122 years, 164 days. The oldest living as of today is 117 years old. So, being a centenarian nowadays is not nearly as difficult as it was a generation ago. I know there was one person who was rumored to be just almost absurdly old. And the reason he was unverified because we didn't know here it is, 146. But it's unverifiable because we can't nail down his actual birth year. According to his village, he was born on December 31st, 1870. And I think he passed away in 2019. Oh, 2017. Now, he outlived his wife, all of his siblings, and all of his children. And that's hard. That's very hard. Now, I really hope I never outlive any of my children. But I've already outlived 2 of my siblings, and I'm the oldest. So from that perspective, I can only imagine. But if one person can do it, anyone can. But with that in mind, imagine living 250 years. Imagine living 500 years. Imagine living so long that you're visiting family that your children's children's children weren't alive to even meet. Assuming, of course, that this doesn't work for everyone. You know, let's just say you're an anomaly. I don't know if I could handle that. Now, if it's good for everyone, I don't know I could handle family reunions after 4 or 5 generations. I mean, I can't imagine being the progenitor of 5 or 6 living generations of people. I couldn't imagine what that would be like. It would be amazing and frightening and terrifying. And oh my god, all those people for family reunion parties. Lots of food and people. Lots of people. And the irony is, it would be 5 or 6 generations of introverts. I know eventually all the roads that we walk lead to the same place. To Shakespeare's undiscovered country. Some of us walk longer roads than others. Sorry for any feedback that caused. But in the end, what's important is that we build something I think it's important that we work every single day to build a better world. Oh, he's not armed. Okay. Oh, he's in the Serial Society. He's one of ours. I'm wearing pixie armor. So, shout out to fellow society mate Cody. Is it Cody Cat? Stop moving. Dude. Oh, he's carrying a knife. Cody Castings. Initiate in the Serial Society. This is Julian McBain. First circle. First circle? First circle. Okay, guys. I'm going to sign off. No more grim thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. If you've been with me all this time, I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.